Hey guys, 大家好. So today I want to talk briefly about something that's been on my mind for a while now. So this is going to be another video in my series on how I am still learning to read and write Chinese. So if you look back at my older videos, and I touched upon this briefly in my last video on Clear the List, but all of my older videos really were quite intensive. So it was reading over a dialogue from a textbook many times, reading short articles, creating flashcards, going to YouTube videos and watching it over and over, writing a diary to get targeted vocab and recycling, getting my flashcards and speaking to tutors. All of that stuff's great, especially when you first begin, because you know, when you first start anything new, especially a new language, stuff just falls straight out of your head, and when you learn it, you're going to forget it. You learn it again, you forget it straight after, and you forget it and you forget it and you forget it, and eventually it sticks. So especially when the characters aren't familiar and they're new words, then there's so little hooks there to grasp onto the new information. Sometimes you resort to mnemonics, sometimes you just read it over and over and over and over again to really cement it into your memory. So this kind of process of intensive reading and then recycling what you've learned through flashcards and Anki is, I think, in terms of developing a base for reading Chinese, especially something that's distant, like Chinese or Japanese or Arabic or Korean or something like that, especially with a new script as well, because it's so foreign to you, then it really helps recycle the same stuff back and back, so you can start building this island, building this base that you can then work on expanding after. Really, that's what I did. I did a lot of intensive stuff, reading the same article many times, reading the same passage from a book many times over, getting videos, getting stuff from YouTube videos, diaries, all that stuff. I built up the sentences in my Anki. So every day I'd read through whatever the review number was and recycle the information through my flashcards, and I built that up to about 1,000 sentences. At that point, especially when I was going through, there was a book, The Little Prince, which I didn't actually complete. I got through about 7 chapters in and got fed up because it was I knew about 80% of the vocabulary, probably 8 when I was going over it. This is months and months ago now. I knew about 80 to 85% of the vocabulary, probably reading through the first time. Getting the last small percent and creating flashcards, I'd probably spend half an hour reading, 2 hours making flashcards, and 2 hours reviewing flashcards. It was just ridiculous, you know, spending more time with the flashcards than actually reading and listening to the language. So after I hit about 1,000 flashcards, I got up this base of when whatever I'm reading, there's obviously the specific vocabulary that I'm missing, but I can understand the majority of it. Obviously the details are lost, and the all of the information of what's happening is all lost in the details. If you don't know that, you don't follow. So it's like, tomorrow I am going to blank. Okay, fine, you know most of the words, but you don't know the main details. So obviously you want to pick up these words, but there's so many of them, and this is where I think diminishing returns gets in play. When you first start learning a language, everything is new, everything is useful. You know, learning words like he, she, you, because, therefore, it, like and, stuff like that, and all of them, they're going to be recycled so often that they're all incredibly useful. But then when you get further and further and further in a language, then the words you're learning become less and less useful. So like say yesterday I learned Bozi gay or something, which is like a pinball machine, which is like the 99.9% of conversations is not going to be relevant at all, right? But the thing is, you need to pick up on these stuff because the devil's in the detail. And always, whenever you're speaking to anyone or watching a drama, even if it's on this one topic, you can guarantee it's always going to branch off into different topics. People are going to use metaphors with different analogies and stuff like that. So you've got the situation where you've got the core and most of what you need to know, but you're missing all of the detail, and you're missing the main meaning in that detail. And the amount of words you need to learn in the detail is so high. But because you know everything around it, you can generally pick up words a lot easier. So if I'm watching a TV program and I hear someone say a sentence, there's only one word I don't know, but from the context, sometimes you can pick out what it means. And because of these reasons, you've got so many more words to learn to get the detail, but also you're picking up words more easily. And this is where diminishing returns kicks in. And with intensive reading it loses its value, because focusing in this sort of intensive study now, you cover the same ground over and over again. It's going to take forever. You're just not going to cover enough ground to be able to learn the words you need to be able to read and discuss and converse on this range of topics. So this is really where extensive reading comes in, and this is what I've been doing for the past bar this month, when I'm going back to do intensive for very specific topics to learn about applied linguistics and history. The past 3 months I've been reading fiction novels based on different stuff, a lot of stuff around life in Hong Kong, Men Can't Be Poor 1 and 2, and some thriller novels. Basically just the act of going through from start to finish and completing it, you're exposed to so many new structures, so many new vocabulary. You're reconsolidating the old stuff. You don't need the SRS, because if you keep reading and keep reading and keep listening, it's going to come up again and again and again. And if you're exposing yourself to the language that much and the word doesn't come up, then you probably don't need to know that word. This sort of extensive approach, especially in the intermediate and past, and the higher you get, just only gets more and more and more useful, and the intensive approach becomes less and less useful, bar trying to learn about very specific or niche topics. So that's what I've been doing. And something that was really bugging me for a long time, people say, yeah, you know 95% of the words, you just keep reading, and the other 5% you can figure out from context. And granted, if I was learning something like Spanish where it's phonetic alphabet, you probably can, because you know it's read and maybe some of it's cognates and all that stuff. But with Chinese, I mean, fine, I've had times when I've been reading, I've seen a new word, I've figured out exactly what it meant from context, but that doesn't mean I know how to say that word, and it doesn't mean I know how to use that word, because even if I know the meaning of the characters, I don't know how it's pronounced. So if I want to convert it into listening and speaking, then you need to know how it's pronounced. Now, so obviously with Chinese characters, there's phonetic components in some of them, and you can guess generally the pronunciation. Sometimes you'll be right, sometimes you'll be wrong, but you don't know for sure. So if you want to do extensive reading right, and you want to activate it into your listening and add it onto your listening skills and add it on to be able to your speaking skills, you need to know how they sound like and how to use them, right? So extensive reading in the traditionally looking nothing up isn't quite going to work. So what I've been doing is making sure I'm doing all of my reading online, on my phone, on Pleco, or on my computer with online dictionaries. And what this allows you to do is very, 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 very quickly, in a matter of seconds, look up the word, see the meaning, see the uping, see the get the text to speech, get an idea of how it's pronounced. Obviously they're not 100% accurate, but it can give you a basic idea, and that can allow you to move quickly through and keep reading. And over the course of a book, then the same words come up again and again and again, depending on the theme, the characters, the writing style, and so on, that by the time you finish a book, just the act of going from start to finish, you're going to pick up so many more words, and you know how they're pronounced because you've seen the uping, you've seen the text, heard the text to speech. And if you want to know specifically how to do that, I made a video a while back basically saying how to read. I think it's called how to read wherever you are on your phone or something like that, and I'll leave a link in the description and at the end notes of this video. So yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I think it's a bit of a ramble, but the key take homes are, at the start you need to do intensive, because stuff falls out your head like there's no tomorrow. It's going to keep falling out, you're going to forget everything, so you need to learn it again and again and again and again and again. But once you've got that base, learning words becomes easier and easier. You can pick up more from context, and the amount you need to learn goes up, so you get serious diminishing returns, and you need to shift your approach from intensive to extensive. Binge watch TV dramas, read extensive books, read to finish it, and follow the fun, do it for pleasure, and keep going and keep going and keep going. Just through sheer exposure and sheer volume of content, you're going to pick up so much passively without even trying to. And this is where the real power is. Thanks for watching. This was a bit of a long rant today. I think this might be one of my last videos in learning to read and write Chinese, because at this point there's no shortcuts. You've got the base, you've got what you need, you just need to keep going, keep exposing yourself to interesting content, and just keep going, expose yourself as much as you possibly can. And it's a long, gradual road that lies ahead. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, comments, disagreements, or whatever with anything that I've said, please let me know. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Bye. I'll see you again there.